The urn is one of Deadlock's most important objectives, and right now, I think it's in one of the worst spots it's ever been. Every time the urn comes up, I see people complaining about it, how urn fights are frustrating, how the comeback mechanics are too strong, and just how the entire game seems to revolve around the urn. But I don't see anyone actually suggesting fixes for these problems, so that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to explain why urn fights feel so bad right now, and then go through a few different solutions that I've come up with that'll hopefully make the urn a lot healthier for the game. Now, I'm not a game developer, and I'm sure there are a lot of balance issues and exploits, as I can't test any of these numbers. But hopefully these ideas can serve as a starting point for discussions about how Valve could improve the urn. The biggest issue is that urn fights have become giant deathball fights. Everybody groups up, throws every ultimate and AoE ability they have, and whichever team wins walks away with a massive reward. Some team comps are going to be naturally better at this than others, so you can feel like you've lost the game because of the random draft that the game currently has. Then you combine that with how valuable the urn currently is. Not only are you fighting over one objective, you're fighting over the most impactful objective. Losing an urn can completely swing a match. Now, a draft system would help alleviate some of this problem, but where teams could build more balanced compositions, but that really is just a band-aid solution, and I'd rather address the urn itself. So let's start with the simplest approach. My first solution is simple. Make the urn worth less souls, but we'll somewhat compensate that by giving out more golden statue buffs, but it'll still be an overall loss in value for the urn. For example, I propose that we reduce the soul reward from 1,300 souls plus 230 per minute to 1,000 souls plus 200 per minute, and increase the golden statue reward to give every player 4 buffs. This would make the urn feel important without making it feel mandatory. Right now, letting an urn go can feel like throwing the game. Reducing the soul value limits the punishment while still rewarding the team that secures it. I would also like to rework how the comeback resistance works. I think the resistance buff should scale based on how far your team is behind. Instead of a flat value of 35%, I think you should start at 10% and increase based on your soul difference. For example, at the 10% souls behind threshold, you'll get a 10% base resistance plus 0.5% for every percent you're behind. So if you're down 10%, you'd get a 15% resistance, because you got the 10% base and then you're down 10% times 0.5, which would be the 15%. But if you're down 20%, you'd get 20% resistance, because the base 10% plus 0.5 for the 20% that you're down. This makes the comeback mechanic more dynamic and helps create closer fights without feeling completely unfair. I'd also like to change the urn's carry timer. Maybe this is just a skill issue on my part, but I struggle to run the urn through the safe routes without taking any damage, so imagine just how the newer players must feel. The current timers push players into awkward situations where they're entering fights already at half health if they've chosen to take the safer routes, and that's not fun. I'd increase the timer from 30 seconds to 45 while keeping the current mechanic where nearby enemies pause the countdown. I'd also add a visual indicator showing how much time remains before the damage starts ticking in as a simple quality of life improvement. Lastly, I'd like to change how the urn returns. One of the most frustrating things right now is how long teams can stall the urn, so I'd change the return mechanics. First, the urn should return more slowly when there are players nearby. Let's say at around 75 meters it would move at its current speed, but the closer players are to that, it slows down. Second, I'd have the urn run towards the trench that runs through the middle of the map before it heads left or right to return to its original pickup location. That way, teams can't simply drop the urn under their walker and waste the enemy team's time, because the urn will actually be handed off right to the enemy team if they're there to pick it up. Finally, once a team has exhausted their 45-second carry timer, they will lose the ability to pick up the urn until it either fully resets or is picked up by the enemy team. But they can still hold on to the urn past the 45 seconds, it's just if they drop it, they can't pick it up again. After their 45-second timer's up, they also would no longer count towards the movement slow I mentioned earlier. I believe this would dramatically reduce stalling and actually make it a bad idea to stall, as you're basically handing over a free urn to the enemy. Now, let's get a little bit more ambitious. A while ago, there were rumors about a King of the Hill style objective, and I actually think something like that could work really well alongside the urn. So here's my idea. Once a team picks up the urn and carries it past the blue lane, a capture point appears somewhere else on the map. Ideally, it would spawn in the jungle opposite of the urn drop-off and slightly favoring the team that doesn't have control of the urn. Players stand inside the area to capture it, and while capturing, they earn a small amount of souls. When the objective completes, everyone who contributed receives a couple golden statue buffs. Nothing huge, just enough to matter. The reason I like this idea is because it creates choices. Right now, every decision revolves around the urn. With the secondary objectives, teams suddenly have options. Do you contest the urn, or do you take the capture point? Do you bait the enemy into thinking you're taking the urn and then ambush them at the capture point? It creates opportunities for strategies and mind games, instead of forcing every game into one giant deathball fight at the urn. The capture point should also provide a resistance buff similar to the urn for a team that's behind. That way, a winning team can't simply send one player to babysit the urn while everyone else fights on the capture point for a free objective. Now this is my favorite idea. Nerf the urn's value, keep its comeback mechanics, and then introduce an entirely new mid-game objective in the form of a roaming mini-boss. Now, I imagine this being a giant sewer rat, as I feel that would fit very thematically. Now, how it spawns is the boss will emerge from one of the REM tunnels, and if the soul difference is relatively close, it will spawn in the middle trench of the map, and then roam around the nearby area. If one team is significantly behind, it will spawn closer to their side of the jungle. This creates natural comeback opportunities without simply handing out free rewards to the losing team. Now, how to start the boss fight is the boss would have a shield, and the only way to activate the boss fight is by mailing that shield. This would prevent random bullets from starting the encounter and making engaging the boss an actual intentional decision. Now, the positioning. Once activated, the boss will follow the players around who started the fight, but staying inside its roaming area. You can see the areas I suggest on screen, with blue being the neutral zone, the red and green areas being the favored/unfavored areas depending on which side you're on. That means teams can actually choose where they want to fight it, so if you're facing something like a lash, drag the boss into somewhere with cover. You need tighter terrain for your composition? Lead it indoors. The objective becomes something teams can dynamically play around, instead of simply standing in a predetermined area. When defeated, the boss will drop soul orbs on the ground, like they do from creeps. Players collect the soul orbs by moving near them, and this creates opportunities for steals, counterplays, and chaos. Maybe the winning team secures the kill, but your Infernus was hiding nearby, and once the reward is out, he flame dashes through, picking up tons of the souls, and then makes an escape. Those kinds of moments are memorable, and that's exactly what good objectives should create. I'm not going to get too deep into the mini-boss's mechanics because we could spend an entire video just talking about that alone, and this is a video about how to fix the urn. The important part about this objective is that it would create map movement and strategic choices. It would also take some pressure off the urn being the only thing that matters. So those are my ideas for fixing the urn. Some of these ideas could work in combination, and some of them probably need a lot more iterations to get just right. And there are definitely lots of unanswered questions, like how does the capture point work when both teams are standing in it, or how tanky should the mini-boss be, and what mechanics should it have? Those details would need testing and refinement, and the goal here isn't to present a perfect solution, it's to start a conversation, because I generally think the urn is one of the biggest pain points in Deadlock right now, and I would love to see it become a more interesting objective. So let me know what you think, what you would change, what you would keep. Do you like any of these ideas, or do you have a completely different solution? Please, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments on this topic. But anyways, that's all for this video. Okay, bye.